Thanks for checking out the Future Fox podcast. Today's guest is Amanda Shields, a very talented hairstylist, a salon owner, an entrepreneur, and recently has just launched her own consulting firm where she is helping other entrepreneurs in similar industries find success as well. We talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about her route to starting her own business, how it was non-traditional, and her passion for helping other entrepreneurs and salon owners find success as well. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts and enjoy this episode. Let's dive into this.
All right, let's do it.
All right, here today with Amanda Shields. She's got a lot of stuff going on. Owner of a salon.
Yep.
Still.
Yep.
And owner of a consulting firm.
Correct.
Yes. What else am I missing? Tell me everything that you're doing right now in your life.
Oh gosh, well, I'm doing some hands-on hair, which I love. Like I have to keep that creative side of my brain, in check.
Are you taking like new clients?
Every now and then I get a new client and I love it. A lot of my clients have been doing their hair for 15, 16 years.
I find those people who have been doing it for a long time and they're only doing it like part-time, a couple days a week.
Yep.
Like it's really hard to take on new clients.
It really is. And I want to make room for my people who have been loyal to me for all these years. And every now and then I'll get a new client or I'll have somebody reach out to me that's a friend of one of my current clients and take them on. And I love it. It's like a new project and I just don't get to do it that often. So I take them every now and then. But in majority, I would say 99% of it are people who are, my long-term clients.
Okay.
Yeah. And
do you have a screening process for new clients?
I don't anymore, mainly because they're all referrals. And I know my clients know better than to send me somebody who would, not be a good fit.
Okay.
But I actually have been recommending that to a lot of my clients in the consulting world is screening them in other ways besides just having them fill out a questionnaire. Because when you get to a certain point, you want to make sure that you have a certain interview to 100%.
That's crazy.
It is.
For dudes, we're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yes.
Like, I'm not that picky.
It's
so.
true.
I do have a barber that I like, that I go to. And I had an appointment yesterday. She got sick. She texted me, I can't do it. Yep. I was like, well, I have a podcast. I got to get a haircut. It's been like 4 weeks. So I just went to a different place and she botched my hair. And I was like, this is why I don't go to anybody else.
I know. Men are so loyal. I will say they're some of the most loyal clients when it comes to
If I didn't have a podcast and then I'm going to Hawaii next week and she was like, I can't get you in next week either because I'm having surgery. I was like, I just got to go like roulette, random barber shop and just pray.
Well, you should have texted me. I could have brought my stuff and just done it for you this morning.
I never ask friends for favors. So
I know. Well, it doesn't look bad from here. So
okay, thanks.
It can't be that
a little
bad.
Shaggy in the back.
Yeah.
I'm trying a new style and I think I might be too old for it.
I don't know. There's no such thing. You can rock it.
Okay. All right. You're the expert.
Yeah.
All right. So you have hands-on hair still, a couple days a week.
Yep.
And what else you got going on?
So then I started a consulting business. So I am working with salon and spa owners and med spa owners, which is kind of a new part of the industry that I'm tapping into. Okay. So basically I go into salons and spas and I work with these owners who are either just getting started and need some guidance, looking for things that would have been helpful to me in the first couple of years of owning a business.
You can probably, I bet you can just accelerate their business through that first, like get them up to speed, like where they should be in 5 years in less than a year.
100%. That is exactly my goal. And I would have paid good money to have someone do that for me, and, so much of what I'm working with them on are things that I've learned from mistakes. Mm-hmm. I think there's this big misconception that like I was this perfect business owner and that's why I can speak to how to run the perfect business. But really I'm helping people avoid the mistakes that I made. Yep. So to your point, accelerate that into being profitable faster. Some of these people
half of it is like, here's what to do. And here's half of it is like, here's what not to do.
100%.
All the mistakes I made. Yeah.
Exactly. And I felt that way even as a salon owner. Like I took so much of my old bosses of what I admired in them, but also the things I never wanted to be in them, and took that into, being a leader myself. So same thing with consulting. Here's what helped make me successful, and here's what really deteriorated my business. And sometimes I go into these businesses after 5-6 years, and these people are still not profitable, and they just need to know why. And the reality is, you don't know what you don't know. You delegate those areas to people who are experts in that field. And also, people are busy in business. They're busy. So much needs their attention that oftentimes they want to dig in their business. They want to get systems organized and things streamlined, but they just don't have the time.
Yep.
So
I always talk about working on your business, versus working in your business,
100%,
right?
100%. Yeah. Yep. That's a hard balance to find.
It is. As an entrepreneur, it's super difficult to find.
It really is.
I try to carve out like one day a week to work. On my business instead of in my business, but inevitably things come up and I end up having to work, I have to work on, in my business.
Exactly.
It's so hard to find that time.
It is. And sometimes you have to set such strict boundaries, and it's not always easy because again, it's your business. It's so multifaceted, and there's money making days and there's money spending days, and there's, it's all very different. So yeah.
That's good. Money making days and money spending days. I like that.
There were days where I'd be behind the chair and product reps or, people that I was doing business with would come in and want my time. And I'd say, like, this is a money-making day for me. I don't have time to walk away from my clients who are paying me a lot of money for my time to go spend money with you. So I would just tell the front desk to tell them, come back. Like,
coming back on a money-spending day.
Exactly. And I
don't have any of those on the schedule right now, but.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah, so that's a majority of it. I do still teach here and there. I've been kind of combining some of my teaching. I taught for Aveda for 10 years. And then I love being present in the Aveda Institute. So, going and teaching when these people are getting licensed and up and coming and they're hungry and they're excited. Okay. But then
is it most like new people coming up through the school, or is it people doing like continuing education, or both?
I do a little bit of both right now. Okay. Yeah. So when I'm at the Aveda Institute, those are all students who are still in school. So not yet licensed, not yet working. But then I also teach hair extensions and honestly just the business of being a hairdresser in salons as well. Yeah. So a lot of times, when they're doing continuing education, they feel like they have to choose between hands-on and something regarding the business. So I usually go in there and do like a 2-day class where one day is hands-on extensions or, high-end color services. And then the second day is really the business of building your clientele, making more money, in the hours that you're working rather than having to work more to make more. So they need a little bit of that too. And sometimes hearing the same thing from me that they hear maybe from their salon owner is just different. It's just kind of like your kids. Like somebody else tells them and it's just a different, insight from somebody else. So I work with, when I do education, sometimes it kind of is, melding my consulting business and my education business all at the same time. So I've kind of got my hands in a lot right now, which I think is what I was really looking for as an entrepreneur all along. Like that's what makes me feel truly like an entrepreneur, is when I have my hands in multiple different things, and it keeps things exciting and innovative, and they're always changing. Very fresh. Yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm starting new businesses every other week, and I'm like, I'm trying to focus. I have to make myself focus. I'm like, all right, focus on this thing.
Me too. I have
started it. You got to finish it.
That's right. I have this list of like, if I had 5 extra minutes, the businesses I would start. And you get like. My group of girlfriends together, and inevitably in an hour, I'll be like, okay, hear me out. Yeah. What about this business idea?
Fun. I think you and I are a lot alike. I had a poker night a couple of nights ago with all my buddies, and I was pitching them on business ideas. And I'm like, which ones do you think would work? I got this idea. And they hate some of them, and then they love some of them. And so,
I love that.
But I'm always pitching them.
I'm sure they're used to it by now. My friends are the same way. Yeah.
You can always spot the entrepreneur in the room.
Oh, yeah.
It's
without a doubt.
Workshopping ideas. Like, hey, would you use this service?
Totally. Yeah, I love that.
So which one are you splitting your time pretty much 30 or
I'm about 45 with hair and consulting right now.
Okay.
And then any extra time that I have, I give to education. So,
what's the name of your consulting firm? How can people find that?
Yeah, so Elevated Entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I started it last January, so just about a year ago.
Generic name that you can sort of branch out.
Yes, that was the plan. And entrepreneurs it's such a wide range. And really, long term, I would love to have the opportunity to help other entrepreneurs grow different types of businesses outside of just the beauty industry. Obviously, it's what I know, but as you know, business is business, and things that aren't that dissimilar from my business, I feel like I could also help down the road as I learn more. So I felt like that was a good way to keep it.
Any thoughts of bringing other consultants underneath you and expanding to other industries?
Yeah, not necessarily as much that, but I have thought a lot about bringing in people who can help in other parts of it. So, a lot of entrepreneurs need help with, they need an accountant that they can trust. They need somebody to help them find private health insurance. They need all of these things. So bringing in people in different parts of what I can offer them so that they feel like they can streamline everything and get on monthly calls with, an accountant, whatever it may be. So, but, I hadn't thought about that, but that's actually a great idea. People who are
like, if you want to, I'll come work under your umbrella.
I love that idea.
I'll start consulting. No, I don't have anything to teach anybody. So.
Well, that's not true. That is definitely not true. We all do.
I've been in business 13 years, which is longer than most businesses, I guess. So I could probably.
You make it past year 5 and 10. Those are big markers.
Is it? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, must be doing something.
You
right,
are. You are.
I
agree.
Fake it till I make it.
Talk
about imposter syndrome.
I know. It's true.
13 years in, whatever I'm in. 13 years now, and I still feel
like you're just waiting for someone to realize that you're not actually as smart as you think you are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Today might be that day. I joked about it just the other day.
The whole internet's going to figure it out today.
The World Wide Web is going to be on to me.
I'm always worried about that.
Me too.
Well, the problem with me is that I'm an entrepreneur masquerading as a filmmaker.
Okay.
So
yes.
I don't know if you feel like you're a hairstylist masquerading as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to have a business, and I was good enough at videos to convince people to pay me.
Right.
And so I just went that route.
Yes.
And then you get to a certain point, and now I just hire people who are better than me at making videos because,
Right.
And I get the business, and then we make better videos.
Totally. I feel that's interesting that we are opposite in that way. Like, just over the weekend, my grandma said to me, like, anybody would have seen you being a hairdresser. Like, it just fits.
Yeah.
But nobody would have seen you being the businesswoman that you are. We joked about, like, if you told one of my high school teachers that I'm doing what I'm doing.
Successful business owner and consultant.
Yeah, they wouldn't believe you in a billion years.
So let's go back. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, Central Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, just outside of Des Moines.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you like growing up there?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Of course, by the time I graduated, I was like anywhere but here. But now that I look back, it was a great place to grow up.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then how'd you end up in Colorado?
So my only brother came to college out here.
Okay.
And
where at? CU?
What's on the Array area campus there? Metro?
Okay.
Yeah, Metro. I visited him out here a whole bunch, and eventually one day he was like, you could just live here, like you come visit all the time. Yeah. And so the Aveda Institute Denver was opening, and cool. I was already thinking about getting into being an educator, but I was being in Des Moines. I was just going to go to Minneapolis.
Okay. Were you wrapping up high school?
I had graduated beauty school and had been doing hair 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I was a hairdresser, had a fully established clientele in my hometown.
Oh, that's hard to leave.
It was. And just to leave my hometown, not a lot of people in Iowa do.
Yeah.
So
hey, I'm from a small town in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Most people
Same
stay.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I came out here and interviewed, and I moved out here to be closer to my brother. And, cool. I just always joke with him, like, I'll be your annoying little sister forever and just follow you everywhere. And I still am.
Is he still in Colorado?
He is.
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
He's in Arvada. We're not far from each other. And
fun.
So that's what brought me to Colorado. And, Aveda is what got me the transition here and opened so many doors for me here. Okay. So grew up in Des Moines.
So I'm sorry, when you moved here, you went back to school? Or you just worked for the...
I just worked. I was an educator for the Aveda Institute.
Okay.
Yep.
And so then how did you branch away from that and open up your own practice?
Yeah, gosh. So I had been a hairdresser. I'd worked under so many amazing people. I was working at a salon in Boulder for 8 years. Okay. And I became their, education director there. They truly were the most amazing place to grow as a stylist. And
good.
Should
we give them a shout out?
We should. Pompadours in Boulder.
Pompadours in Boulder. Okay.
They're amazing.
And what years are we talking?
Let's see. I was there 2007 to 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and honestly, so many of their stylists have opened successful salons. Cool. I mean, I always tell them like they were this like incubator for us.
Yeah, they churn out successful hairstylists.
They take you from being a hairdresser to a true professional.
Cool.
Honestly, I mean, and I've told this to them.
What a great quality in a business.
Great quality.
Yeah, I would love for someone to say that about me one day
me
when
too.
I'm old. Yeah,
100%. And to have people look back and say, I wouldn't be where I was at without them, you know, and truly, and for a lot of reasons. I mean, they were hard on us, and we needed that. We were young. Hairdressers are typically starting their career at 19. You know, you go to 1 year of school outside of high school. So you're starting very young, and you've had very little life experience. And now that I've managed that generation of people, I know what I was then.
Yeah. You realize how all your shortcomings, right?
Oh, I've made a lot of apology phone calls and like, thank you for sticking it out.
You're a better person than I. I'm not apologizing.
Well, yeah. So they were awesome. And honestly, it got to the point where I worked my way up and had such a big clientele, and I saw what they were doing, and I thought, you know, I want to do that. I want to own a salon. I want to help other people get to where I am and even further in their careers. And I had a really honest conversation with them, and they kind of said, this is the next step for you. You know, we get it. And you're also opening a competitor for us. So we should figure out a way to like cut ties while you're building the business where it's not competitive here, you know? Yeah. So it was, you know, there was I call it like, all the stages of grief. You know, at first it was like we're excited, and then there were days where they were like, I just want to be a little mad at you today, you know, but we're going to announce to the salon today that you're leaving or whatever. And, you know, again, I took all of this into my own salon too, knowing that, you know, how that was handled with me was, I admired it so much. You know, they were at my grand opening of my salon. They were, you know, cool. So
it was an amicable split, as amicable as it can be.
100%. And sometimes that needs a little time, you know, and I'm sure there were moments
where them to show up at your grand opening is really cool.
Yes. And keep in touch since then, and, you know, touch base during COVID when we were both trying to figure out how to reopen and all of that. So I rented a little studio for about a year while I built out my salon and spa, and
were you able to? I don't know how that works. Were you able to take your clientele with you, or
you know,
you're not supposed to, but some demand?
It's amazing how different things were even 12 years ago. Yes, I was sneaking information to them.
Okay.
God, Eddie and Lisa, I hope you don't listen to this. But I was sneaking them little business cards with my info on it.
Sure.
Moving forward
I'm not going to be here next week.
Like,
this is the address I will be
exactly.
at.
Here's how to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't stealing information out of the computer, so there was nothing illegal going on. But there was some shady business going on in my chair. So, but I think the reality now is that people can find you on social media.
Yeah,
you know, when my stylist would leave the salon, I would have something up front with their forwarding information.
You're already following them on socials, and then they announce it. You're like, oh, I guess I'll.
Yep.
Oh, congratulations.
Totally.
Or how do I book the new spot?
Yeah, because people do. They want to follow their stylist. And
that makes sense.
It does.
I wouldn't expect. You know, if I owned a salon, I wouldn't necessarily expect, if the stylist is leaving, all the people are just going to stay and find a new stylist here.
Yes.
If they want to, if they want to, sure.
If they live in the apartments across the
half of them might stay, and I expect half of them to go.
Yep.
But half of those people probably came in with you. You know, you brought a lot of business in with you, I imagine.
Yep.
So it's you know, that's just the nature. And the next person who takes your spot is going to bring some business to replace that business.
Yep, that's right.
I imagine that's how it works.
Pretty much.
You're not going to hire someone who has no clientele,
right?
Unless you're paying them, and you know, that's a lower rate, unless it makes sense. Right?
Yes, yep. So a lot of my clients came with me. In fact, you know, there's a lot of clients who have gone from Pompadours in Boulder to my little studio to my big salon and spa, and now are back at my, you know, the little studio that the girls and I have now. So it's been cool to have them be along on that journey, and it's made me realize when I'm helping people who are in the studio setting, like your clients are loyal to you. They're not usually loyal to a salon. They want to stick with their stylist, and people like feeling like they're a part of what their stylist is growing, you know, and they'll support a business that they feel like they're helping grow. And it's cool. They think it's cool. We obviously are so grateful for it. So yeah.
Well, okay. Tell me, like, you must have been like very young when you figured out what you wanted to do.
Yes.
Like in high school.
Yeah. My first job in high school was a receptionist at a salon.
Okay.
My parents never even asked me to get a job. I just was like, I want to work in a salon.
Okay.
So I did. And I guess
Were you doing your own hair? Were you doing your friend's hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of it.
Okay.
I was doing my friend's hair for dances. The entire football team would come to my house and I would highlight all of their hair, like frost their tips.
Okay. Yeah.
They would like line up in my kitchen. I remember one time I like got bleach on my comforter and my mom was like, of course you did.
Yeah,
like, of course you were highlighting hair. And
one of the football players got too rowdy.
Yep, totally. So I was always doing their hair, always coloring my friend's hair and my hair. You know, even though my parents would have preferred I didn't.
Sure.
And
it's all worked out.
I bet
they're over it now.
They got over it. Yeah. So, but then, you know, I guess there was a point where I just assumed every girl just loved doing hair and makeup, and that was just a phase of my life and whatever. Plus, everybody in Iowa, it's you graduate high school, you go to college because that's where you meet your husband, and then that's what you do. So, of course, I fought for the first year what I really wanted and went to college just to make everybody else happy. And then after a year, I changed the plan without anybody else's, permission or guidance or anything. And that was not well received in my family.
Sure,
yeah. So fortunately, my sweet grandma let me live with her while I went through beauty school. And, I worked 3 jobs. They
didn't see it though. They didn't see the obvious, the whole time you were doing this.
I think they did.
Did they just want you to be a doctor or something?
Sure. Like a college graduate,
Sure, yeah.
I think there's this fear of being like the hairdresser with rollers in her hair, chomping her gum and making no money.
Sure. Our parents' generation thought a college degree, you get a college degree and you will be fine.
That's
Everything's going to work out. And it's like, well, that was what everyone else thought, and everyone went to college, and turns out it's not true anymore.
Exactly. It's definitely not the path for anybody. And it really showed, I think looking back, I struggled all through high school. I barely graduated. And then I graduated top of my class in beauty school early. I think it really showed that like I have a great brain. It just wasn't being...
Brag about it, why don't you?
Let me tell you how great I am. So once I graduated beauty school, beauty school was rough. I was working at a daycare from like 5:30 to 8 in the morning, going to beauty school all day, working in a salon at night, and then I would like paint the salon, clean the salon, anything I could do to like make extra money because I was paying my own way. I was on my own. Once I withdrew from college, it was like you're on your own, and even more so. Like there was just this huge black, which of course everyone has since come around.
Sure.
I run into people in my hometown and they're like, your dad is so proud of you. I'm like, Like we all remember, right? When this was like the biggest mistake I could have made.
Right.
But as a parent, I get it now. You see your kids doing something that we put so much of our own stuff into what they're doing. So that's not what I would do. So I don't want you doing it.
Sure.
And
it's hard not to.
Totally. So then of course, once I was in school and once I was in my career and seeing how focused I was and how excited I was, and honestly, just for the first time in my life, like truly dedicated and good at something. And it just, from there, I just hit the ground running. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm so envious of people who knew at a young age what they wanted to do. I didn't really figure out. I went to school. I got a degree in psychology. Thought I wanted to do counseling. Turns out I was really bad at school.
Yes.
I got to my senior year and I was like, so, like, what can I do with this? Like, they're like, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know, like counselor, therapist. Something. They're like, well, you just need to go get your master's and probably a PhD. And I was like, I'm terrible at this school thing.
Yeah.
And you want me to go do this more? And they're like, yeah. I was like, can I change degrees? And they're like, no, you're done. You got like, I was like halfway through my senior year already. And they're just like, you can't change now. I was like, God. What am I going to do with this?
Right. I found school the same way as you. It was hard. I didn't enjoy it. I mean, sometimes I even tell people like, being in the work world for me is a breeze compared to being in school because I think, I mean, it's great.
Sitting in a chair and like just listening to someone talk to me and trying to like memorize stuff for a test.
Yes.
Like, my nightmare.
100%.
It doesn't work for me.
Me neither.
I need to get out in the world and just get my hands dirty and figure it out.
I agree. That's my learning style too, for sure. Yeah.
True entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
For sure.
It starts young. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so tell me about the consulting stuff, the spa, so let's get into a little bit of like financials for you. which is more profitable for you right now, and which one are you doing more of or wanting to do more of in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've been digging into that just in the beginning of this year so far. Right now, like my best ROI right this second is standing behind the chair doing hair.
Okay.
So it inevitably, I've been doing it for 21 years. My prices are high.
Sure.
People
are paying for your skill and your experience.
100%. Yeah. So it's hard because it requires me to be physically there. It's hard on my body, but it's hard to walk away from because it is my biggest, and it's consistent.
Yeah.
So my clients, nobody walks out of the door before they book their next appointment. Sometimes their next 3, sometimes through the end of the year,
Okay.
So it is this consistent paycheck, right? It's always coming in.
Do you know what's so interesting is the parallels between us? Like, 'cause that's weddings for us.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? If they're consistent, we can count on them.
Yeah.
The ROI versus how much time. It's one day of filming.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We can outsource some of the editing. So it's like the ROI is great.
Yep.
But it's our weekends.
Yes.
I can't just give up every single weekend.
That's right.
It's super long, 10-hour days.
Yep.
It's exhausting.
You can't do it from a beach in Mexico.
So it's
you
like
have to be in person.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm just
totally.
limited on how many I can do.
Right.
Same thing with
exactly.
hands on head.
You can only make so much money with 2 hands. That's what I'm always saying.
Yes.
And so long term, when I get more, credible and successful in the consulting industry, it will get there. But right now it's not. And in consulting, the goal is to get people's business to a place where I can hand them the keys and then they can drive their own car forward.
Yeah.
So
what do you think needs to happen for you to get there?
I think it needs to be more known what I'm doing. I mean, the more connections I make, the more people are like, I didn't realize that's exactly what you're doing. I would love to start a 6-week program. Okay. So I think having more consistent outreach and then having people in turn be booking with me more consistently. Okay. So right now, I really only have the capacity to be working with about 3 clients at a time. And when those contracts are starting to end, I'm reminded I have to go back out there and find 3 new clients. Yeah. And in my hair business, I haven't had to search for clients for 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's
Do you enjoy that hunt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I say it all the time, like, wouldn't it be nice to just be able to chill? But no way. I would be so bored. I am so driven by that hunt to get back out there and have to basically sell myself again. I love being able to tell people, like, I'm your girl for this. And I haven't had to do that for a long time. So I think it would just be more of getting more people to give testimonials about what has happened with me so that people can see that and just be booking more consistently, where I'm not feeling like every 3 to 6 months I'm going back out there looking for new consulting clients.
Walk me through sort of what you do for them, like your process with them. Tell me about, like, how does that start? Someone calls you and says, I think I could use some help. Yeah. And where do you start and what do you walk them through? And then how long does it take? Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of like one of my 6-week programs. So in the 6 weeks, the first 1 to 2 weeks are usually just diving deep into their current stuff.
Are they sending you all of their financials and packages?
To the extent that they have them. And I think that's where I really uncover a lot of like...
You're like, oh, well, send me your P&L from the last year. Oh. They go, what's a P&L?
What is QuickBooks again? I don't know my password for that, So that's where I usually... Honestly, there are a couple questions I can usually ask in that first day where I am going to know...
And you kind of know where they're at.
Yes.
And you know what you're walking into.
100%. Okay. So that first couple weeks is really... I'm not giving them any guidance. I'm just digging in. Okay. And they are... I'm just always reminding them, like, everybody is like this.
Reminds me sort of like my tax person. When they're like, hey, we need your 743rds. And I'm like, sure, I'll just dig those up. And I'm over there 100%. Googling, like, where is that at? Yep. I'm like, what if I don't have 743rds? Right.
What if I actually have no idea what that is?
I am to my tax person what your clients are to you.
Well, totally. And sometimes I tell them, when I started my business in my salon and spa, Wild Roots, I walked into my accountant, I walked into the bank, I walked into, the contractor, and I said, I literally know nothing. Talk to me like I'm a toddler. And it was the best thing I could have done. I never wanted to walk out of a meeting feeling like I tried to know what I was saying. Therefore, I don't even know what just happened. And I still have 20 more questions.
They still talked over my head.
Yeah. I was like, talk down to me. I'm okay with it. I need to go back to basics. And
hold my hand.
Yeah. I tell people that, like, if you can be vulnerable enough to say, I actually have no idea I don't have a budget. So I don't know what my budget is, things like that. So that first couple of weeks is really just me digging deep into that. And then we start to look at, their systems, their staff, their, like you said, their P&L. We start to really look at, do they even know how much each service that they're performing costs them, let alone how then we price it based off of that. So you can't price a service until you know first what it costs you to operate that
labor,
service.
time, all of that, right?
Product, everything. Yep.
Extensions, whatever you're doing.
Yep. So we do a lot of that in kind of that middle 2 weeks. It's a lot of dissecting and realizing kind of where we're at and where we need to be.
I can't imagine the love faces and the light bulbs going off that you get to witness.
100%. It's the best. And
you're
honestly,
like, you're losing money on this service, right? And they're like, what?
They have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no idea. And in a way, even when it's news like that, they feel relieved because there's knowledge then, and knowledge is power. Like at least they know that. They know now I'm losing money and I have to make some choices and move forward.
What's so great about you as well is you probably know the market so well.
Yes.
You know the price points. You know what they should be charging, where they're at. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're like, hey, your prices are way too high. Your prices are way too low. And you can really help them dial all of that in.
Definitely. And that came so much from, my own business over the last 20 years, but also other people helping me learn those same things, people who guide me in the same direction when I was a young business owner. So lots of light bulbs going off in that middle 2 weeks. And then the excitement kicks in where they're like, now that last 2 weeks, like, let's put it into practice. Yeah. So we're usually bringing
I bet they're already seeing results before the 6 weeks is up.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, especially when they're cutting back the spending because they're realizing that where they thought they had money, they don't. And so that alone, they just, again, feel a relief. They feel some sense of like organization and control, which gives them a feeling of taking back that power in their business instead of having things happen to them. They're operating more on a proactive versus a reactive, mindset. They're
going on offense.
Totally. Yeah. What a good feeling. It's just, especially as a business owner, you're constantly treading water. So then those last 2 weeks, usually, the rest of the team is involved, which is exciting. They want to know. I like transparency in business.
So are you going into their studio a lot or their salon a lot?
It depends. Okay. Some of my clients are out of state, so I usually can only go in the beginning and the end with them.
Okay.
Unless, of course, something's arranged otherwise. But usually I build into like their pricing structure a visit in the very beginning, a couple days, and then a visit in the very end for a couple days. But when they're local, right now, ideally, in a lot of my 6-week programs, 6 to 8 hours a week, I'm spending in person with them.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes I'm literally on their laptop while they are doing
hair.
Yeah, literally. I mean, so that I can say, hey, can you come back here when you get a second? This is where I'm stuck, or I got logged out of this, or whatever. So sometimes I'm literally right alongside them.
Fun.
Which I would like to do more.
You see a little better results.
Yeah.
I imagine so.
Definitely.
Being in person.
And it's a lot of the same systems that I've used in my business. So, even just their point of sale, it's so easy. It's as if I'm sitting in my own office in my own salon.
Yeah, it sounds and smells the same.
It really does. Yeah. And then I think that their teams learn to trust me more when I'm somebody who's there. Yeah. And not just this person like on a Zoom call every now and then telling them that their price structure is changing or their commission structure is changing or whatever. So, And then the longer term ones, honestly, I tend to just dig into almost being more of a part of their operations team. So, I'm helping them place their
What's
first.
What's a long-term?
So like I just signed a 6-month contract.
Okay.
And that one is a really unique situation where this salon has the intention of selling. Okay. So they're trying to get really streamlined and organized. And and again, working on your business versus working in your business. One of the first things I tell people is if you can devote time that's specifically for the business, it's just so helpful instead of just always juggling things. And so it's almost like on their days that they are working in their business, I can be working on their business. Yeah. So that's kind of, an interesting shift for me that I've actually been really looking forward to being there inside the business.
I could see where I would love that.
Yes.
Like digging into other people's businesses and just helping them figure out like where their pain points are, where their weaknesses are. Because it's so hard to know. When you're in, you can't see the forest through the trees,
That's
right?
Exactly right.
And you're in your own business and you just like, I make videos for other businesses.
Yeah.
And I can get a lead and go to their website, look at their social media, have a, 10-minute, 15-minute discovery call with them
Yep.
and just go, oh, here's what you need to do.
Yes.
You need this, this, and this.
Yes.
Then we'll repurpose it for this social media. We need to put a bunch of ad dollars behind this video
Yep.
and pump this one up.
Yep.
And I can just tell them exactly what they should be doing
100%.
in like just 20, 30 minutes of understanding
Yes.
their business and
Yep.
what their goals are, right?
Yes.
I struggle so much with my own business. Figuring out, I'm like, we need to make internal content. We make content, marketing content for ourselves. They're just
Yeah.
like, duh, I have no idea what we should do. I can't figure it out.
100%.
I want to do it all or I want to
Yes.
do nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know which direction,
Yeah.
So I could see where just like having someone come in and just holding my hand and being like, I'm going to give you the hard truth.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
going to tell you here's some things you're doing great. Good
Yeah.
job at this, this, and this.
Yes.
And here's the areas where you suck. And we need
Absolutely.
to really get these dialed in.
And here's a list of tasks, and all you need to do is do them and check them off.
Yeah, and-
Instead of having to come up with the tasks and then do it and check it off. And you're exactly right. I mean, there are moments. Sunday night, actually, I was getting ready to put together this proposal for this 6-month contract, and I literally was looking at one of my 6-week programs, and I was like, who should really go through this program? Me. Who should put their own business through it? Me.
I should.
Yeah. So it's so much easier doing it for somebody else because you're right. You get a very crystal clear
You're too
view.
invested. You're just too personally invested in your own
100%.
business. Everyone is,
Yeah.
right? And you don't want to give up anything, and but you want to do
Yes.
everything, and
You do.
You want to make the right decision because you know how costly it can be if you make the wrong decision.
Absolutely. And
So-
and I think for me, last year I took the month of January off to launch the consulting business. And it's just a reminder that in order to start something big, you have to sacrifice something else. So for me, it was a month of income, a month of having to have my clients find somebody else to see. And but again, it was worth it for the long-term success. But when you have to shift your focus, it means that your focus is being removed from something
we all
else.
have the same 24 hours in a day.
100%. Yeah.
If you're going to be spending a couple days doing this, and
Yep.
that's a couple days you can't do that.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah.
Are you helping with staffing stuff too? Are you giving them feedback on staffing?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Like,
Staffing
that girl
is
over there, you should fire her.
yes, honestly, toxic in the workplace is it'll kill your whole
Yeah,
staff.
I'm sure
And
you can see it after just being in the salon for a few minutes, few hours. You're like,
Absolutely.
I can see the problem.
Absolutely.
Chair number 3.
Chair number 3. I'm talking to you. Yeah, even when I teach, I can see it. I mean,
wow.
there's moments where it's like, okay, and it helps me see where to shift my focus in those classes. Even there are people who want to be there, and there are people who already think they know it all, and sometimes you have to look into leadership and say, hey, I know you want to keep this person. I know that staffing is hard and you have this like white knuckle grip on keeping people working for you. But sometimes you have to let people go who aren't a part of, like you said, just, being positive and wanting to grow. So I do help with staffing a little bit. And I also help with kind of the other side of that. When somebody is saying that they want to leave, don't try to convince them to stay. And honestly, I used to think salons long-term were so great for people. But at this point, there's so many other options out there. There are so many, studios and things like that. And when people want to leave and grow, it's like a relationship.
Sure.
If someone tells you they're thinking about leaving, they're probably already gone.
Yeah.
And so
They already know where they want to go.
that's exactly right. And so I always tell people, like, let them. You just have to let them. And sometimes they ask for support through it, and sometimes they just peace out. I mean, of all of the people who ever left Wild Roots, I would say I had a couple people, move out of state or whatever, but the ones who left to start their own little studio or whatever, there was this group of them who came to me first. Yeah. Or when they came to me, they would say, this was actually really hard to wait so long to tell you because you were the first person we wanted to tell. We wanted to ask you how to do it, how you did it. Our goal is to do what you did. And
I wanted you to know so that you could give us advice on it.
Right, 100%.
But
and
we couldn't tell you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then people started recognizing that they actually could. Like, oh, did you see how those two told her and went off and started their own business together and how well it went and how supportive she was? And and we'll do the same
You're like,
thing.
I actually want to invest in your new thing. You should have told me.
100%. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Let me actually help
I'll
you
be
even
part
more.
owner.
Yep, 100%. Which, again, long term, I mean, I would love that to invest in some of the. There have been consulting, projects that I've done where I've thought, like, slow your roll, Amanda. You can't just invest in everybody. But there have been ones that I'm like so confident in how smart they are, how innovative they are, how successful they are. That
it's always the people, right? You just want to
Yes.
invest in the people. Like, how can I buy stock in you?
literally,
Yeah.
literally, and I love meeting people like that.
Yeah,
you
me
know
too.
that. And you want to talk about imposter syndrome? I'm like, you sure you want me here?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are literally geniuses. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
There's people who have, come across my path, worked for me as contractors or, worked for me part-time back then. And I'm like, dude, doors, and they went on to go do other thing. And I'm just like, you ever need a job? Like,
Yes.
I will have you back.
Absolutely.
Instantly. It's an
Yep.
instant yes. I'll find a spot for you.
Absolutely.
They're just so, some people are just so good. It's like, I just
Yes.
want them in my circle. I want them on my team.
Yes.
And if they ever want to come back, I'll figure it out.
100%, just in some capacity, to have them like be a part of your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've met so many people like that in this industry, and and again, I also think keeping good relationships with those people, so that you never know when things are going to come back together. And so one of the things I'm thinking about in the new year is, kind of going in and helping somebody with her business who, we've worked together on and off over the years, and I've just always known for some reason that she and I would end up back on the same path again, and so kind of tapping back into that now is exciting. And I think it helps a lot to have, even when, of course, it's hard. Of course, it hurts sometimes when somebody leaves your salon, or, you leave a company, and it's a hard decision. But keeping good relationships and, just keeping it, like you said, amicable has been so rewarding for me long term.
What is some of the best business advice you've gotten?
Ooh.
I'm sure it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Anything come to mind? Anything that you regurgitate, tell in your consulting business? You're like, I'm going to use that in my consulting business.
Well, as a woman, honestly, some of the best advice is business is logical. It's logic. It's scientific. It's matter of fact. Like, keeping emotion out of business was the best advice I got a couple of years into owning the salon. So it's hard because like the Gemini in me, right? Like, I am such
we go in astrology.
Sure are. We're going there.
All right.
I have so much duality in me.
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know what that means.
Well, everyone just has this bad taste in their mouth about Geminis, so this is going to convince you opposite. I think. Do you?
No.
Okay, good. Well,
I don't know anything about Geminis.
Thank you. Well, I'm about to teach you.
Okay.
They have this duality, where some people think it's two-faced, but really for me, I'm such a nurturer and such an emotional person. But if you walked into an interview with me, or if you were one of my employees sitting across from me in my office, you'd be like, there's no emotion. Like, it's very logical.
She's a robot.
Yes, a robot. But it has to be that way, because when I'm having a conversation with you about being on time to work or taking up the trash the night before, it can't be emotion. I can't be like, I love you, but but it doesn't mean that when we walk out of a really hard conversation, we're not still going to like all go get queso that night because we all just made it through a really stressful holiday season or whatever. So learning to
I think giving people having hard conversations is a way of loving them.
100%.
Because if I'm having a hard conversation with you, just know that it's because I like you and I love you and I believe in you.
100%.
And the people I don't like and I don't care about and I don't think are going to be in my life very long, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to have a hard conversation with you.
Yes. And actually, I'm glad you said that, because that is some of the other good advice I was given is people spend 80% of their time focused on their bottom 20%. Of their bottom performers, and to
that's
shift
true for clients too.
It is.
Maybe not in your world, but I mean, maybe in the consulting stuff. But, it's like your worst 20% of clients take up 80% of your time, and your
Without
best clients,
Yes,
are the ones who are like, you send them, you're like, hey, here's the first draft of the video, and they're like, perfect, we love it. Let's send it, upload it.
That's
like,
right.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
I'm like, oh, here's the invoice. I go, oh, check's in the mail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with staff, with stylists, I'm always telling people, focus your attention on your top performers. They want to be encouraged. They want new goals. Focus your attention there instead of spending 80% of your time trying to convince the bottom 20% to perform better when they really don't care.
And they're probably never going
to. And instead,
That's Pareto's distribution, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And but again, like,
it's true for just about everything in life.
Just about everything. It's very true. So I would say, and then let's see. I would say, I think just from kind of a shifting your mindset standpoint in business, I always felt like when my business needed so much from me, it must be doing badly. Like if it needs so much of my attention, it must mean that I don't have things as in order as I thought I did, or it was just such a negative thing, when instead I realized that like when the business needed that from me, it was usually a huge breakthrough. Like something big was about a big growth period.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, if you have this business that's just coasting, it doesn't need a lot from you. But when you have a business that's growing in big spurts, and then it needs more from you. And so to shift your mindset into understanding like what a rewarding feeling that should be instead of the opposite.
Does your business have seasons?
Yes.
Can you feel those seasons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You totally. And isn't it interesting? Like, and yet.
And you kind of do just instinctively know what you need to do in the next season?
Yes.
Same.
And at the same time, we've lived these seasons, right? For how many years?
Yeah.
But yet there's still the panic season where you're kind of like, wait, why is nothing going on right now? And
I know it's the season I should be panicking.
Yes.
But I have, because it's 13 years now,
Yes.
it took me this long to realize like to not panic.
To
and
not
just go
panic.
like, take a deep breath, enjoy your time off, enjoy the downtime, know that it's going to ramp back up in January.
Yes.
January is when marketing budgets reset for most businesses.
Yep.
And they blew it all. So November, December is usually slower.
Yep.
But we, you know, that's when we book a lot of weddings. So the money comes in still a little bit. So for us, it's like, I'm just like, don't panic.
Yes.
It's going to happen. You did everything right this year that you're
Yes.
supposed to, you know, and you put in the work. It's going to happen. It just trust the process.
Well, that is a sign of a solid entrepreneur, because you're actually the second person to say that to me this week.
I don't know.
And I stared at her in the same way, like just with awe, like good for you for finally getting to that point, because it is true. I mean, a true entrepreneur has to know to weather those seasons. It's like the stock market. You can't look at your investments every day. You have to look at them at the end of the year.
That's true. I definitely have moments where I don't trust the process and I panic and I make, you know.
That's part of the imposter syndrome.
Wake up in a cold sweat,
Yes.
you know. But yeah, I think for the most part at this point in my career, I'm like, it's going to be fine. You're doing the hard work. You're doing all the things that you need to be doing.
Yep.
You know, so just trust the process.
Right.
You know.
Before you have a next month where you can't even eat lunch because, you know, it's so busy.
Coming.
You know, enjoy the calm before the storm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and in my consulting business, the season is different. So in my hair business, the holidays are packed, but nobody wants to start a new program in the holidays.
Yeah.
They're truly in the circle back to the new year mode. Like, we'll talk about this next year, pushing everything off to next year. Where this week alone, I've had texts, you know, almost daily. Hey, I really want to dig into the business. Can you tell me what you can do for me?
Yep.
So
they're thinking about their goals. It's that time of year. They're thinking about their goals
are.
for the year, and they're like, "Oh, I want to get my business dialed in."
100%.
Whereas your hair business, you know, hands-on hair is probably really busy during the holidays.
Very.
Everyone gets their hair done before the holidays, right? So,
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So definitely seasons and rhythms.
Yeah.
That you're starting to fill out with the new business too. I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun to be in a new business with different seasons and different rhythms, you know. And again, it's exciting. Like the challenge is the exciting part. I need that to keep getting me excited and moving forward. So yeah.
And as far as the med spas, what made you want to branch out and to do that? Because that's sort of adjacent to what you do.
It is.
Those are huge. Those are popping.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's part of it. You know, I see that people aren't getting fluffy facials anymore. They don't want to like lay and get their face massaged. They want a laser or a needle. They want something more intense. So watching that trend shift, you know, it just was, again, it's not totally dissimilar from my business, but it's different enough that it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So honestly, the first time I sat down with a med spa owner, the questions I was asking, it was like, wow, this is so different, you know, and
different.
And the price point is so different. You know, the average ticket for a med spa when they're doing Botox and fillers is so much higher. Yet, of course, the margin is different, and of course, the overhead costs are different. I mean, it's very different. So it was a challenge, but I still felt like I was equipped to help them, and so it was just kind of the next step as far as, you know, if salons and spas, you know, if ever that wears out, I need to be able to be available for this. Yeah. And it's an industry that, again, the growth is so interesting to me. They're doing so much between not only just, you know, aesthetic stuff, you know, the way people look, but now this whole weight loss injection thing. I mean, there's so much that is happening in med spas right now that it's not just beauty. So it's fun to kind of look into that too and what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a reader? Do you read a lot? Do you read books?
read constantly.
Okay,
I love reading. Yes.
You got any good book recommendations for entrepreneurs,
Yes,
business books?
I do. Well, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective. I mean, that is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. I read it every year.
Oh, wow.
My kids.
I read it like 15 years ago or something, like forever ago. I need to revisit it.
You should. And honestly, he has all
give you a
different
book
things.
report on it.
Oh, I would love that. Let's do it. Have a book club.
Yes. All right.
Yes,
We'll
right here, same place in a month.
All right, sounds good.
Totally. So that is definitely one of my favorites. I mean, it truly is. If you want to be somebody who is, set apart and successful, there are habits that have been studied that these people all have.
Yeah.
I love that one. Profit First has been one of my favorite books. Have you read that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do Profit First.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good. I mean,
100%.
Why are we working
I got
so
5
hard?
accounts.
Yes.
And
yes.
it just automatically, as soon as it hits my income account, it goes profit, taxes, expenses, payroll, just gets distributed.
I love that. You're one of the
accounts.
first people I've talked to that has also used that same system. And
I recommend it to everyone.
Me too.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Just flipping that equation, right?
Yes.
You go revenue minus expenses equals profit. And he just flips that on its head.
Yes.
Goes, no. It's revenue minus profit equals expenses.
Yes.
And it forces you to live within your means.
Sure does.
And not overspend and not, go outside of the boundaries of what you realistically can afford.
Yep.
And then you always have that profit there. And I have 6 months in the bank just ready to, if something happens to me or I want to hire somebody new, I know I have it covered.
It's there. And again, we work too hard to not have that, and
you know what it does? Okay, I don't know if this is true for you.
Yeah.
It gives me confidence to say no to things I don't want to do.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm not living in a scarcity mindset.
Right.
Right? There's this scarcity mindset where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get another project. I don't know if I'm going to get another gig. So I have to say yes to this thing, even though the price is low or the client, I don't think I'm going to enjoy working with that client.
Yeah.
It gives me the confidence to just say no. And then a better project comes along.
100%.
Right? Or it's not a pit. It's not a terrible client with a small budget.
Yeah.
I'm spending all this time and resources on this thing that I'm killing myself
kind of
on.
like we were just talking about, why am I investing all this energy into these people who aren't even my ideal clientele and don't even see the value in me? They don't even want to spend this money.
So it frees me up and gives me confidence. It's because money to me is psychological.
Yes.
So much of it is psychological.
Have you read The Psychology of Money?
I don't think I've read that one. I could
one,
probably write that one.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, it just gives me confidence to say no to projects I don't want to do.
Absolutely.
And, we had a down quarter, we had a bad quarter in 2024, and it was just like, okay. I kind of see what happened there. That was weird, but pull from our profit account and keep trucking.
Absolutely,
didn't bat an eye. So.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I mean, like you said, you kind of combine those two things, the profit first, but also the psychology behind it. And I think the scarcity mindset is almost as dangerous as the opposite. Like people who are overspenders and don't pay attention, I think the scarcity can almost be as crippling as that. And so,
that's when you get
stuck
stuck in that, just doing crappy projects for crappy clients.
Yes.
And just doing $300 shooting high school basketball games for $100.
Yeah.
Just
you did that.
Yeah.
When you started.
Exactly.
You had to say yes to everything. We're past that.
Yes. If you're in your first year and you're just trying to figure it out, just say yes to everything. Get as much experience as you can.
Yes.
If we're gonna, I shot your wedding.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you paid me. It was hundreds of dollars. It wasn't that. It was very low, but it was literally my third wedding I'd ever shot. I think.
Right. That's right. It was. You were honest about it.
I was I'm starting out.
Yeah.
I'll say yes to whatever you got.
Yes.
And I'll come and I'll give it my best. And looking at it now, I probably am embarrassed about it, but that was the best I could do at that time. It was literally I think it was the third wedding I ever shot.
Well, you were embarrassed by the quality of it. Is that what you mean? Or just that you went down to, because I think how it went was you gave me a quote and I said, basically, I can't afford that. And you were like, why don't you just make me an offer? I think that's how it happened.
Maybe
because
so.
I think it was a last minute
It's
edition.
very last minute.
Yeah.
All my first, the first 10 weddings I shot.
Yeah.
I shot this girl named Mackenzie Matthews, her wedding for free. No idea what I was doing. Shot it, posted the video, got a call from her friend the next day.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, I'm getting married in 2 weeks in Buena Vista. What do you charge? And I was like, I have no idea, because this is my second one. I did the first one for free. And I said, $400? She goes, great. Let's do it.
That's
and I was
what
like, cool. I think I spent more on gas money getting to Buena Vista and staying in a hotel and driving back. And then I edited her video that, a day or two over the next couple of days, posted it. And I think did you know Brittany? Is that how I think it had to have been.
I think so. Yes.
Anyways.
Yep.
And then you called me and were like, what do you charge? And I was like, I don't know. 800. And you're like, I got 5. And I'm like, okay, sure.
But I get it. I've been there.
That was a ton of money to me at the time.
100%.
Because I'd made $0. So go from $0 to 500 or whatever is great. So I was saying yes to everything.
Right.
And I think everyone should their first year or two.
I agree.
Just get as much experience as you can.
I agree. I used to tell girls that in the salon where they'd be like, I don't want to do a kid's cut. And I'd be like, let me tell you, my first year, I was doing anything. I had 2 licenses.
Better than the chair being empty.
100%. I mean, like you said, any dollars is better than $0.
Yes.
So I would, I'd spend my days doing pedicures for my boss's clients because I wasn't good enough to do their hair, but I was good enough to rub their feet, and but it was whatever. I'll take whatever money.
That's
I was
humbling,
waxing
I love
people's backs. I was doing it all. My days were just bouncing all over the salon and spa because I got 2 licenses. I was a licensed esthetician and cosmetologist. So basically I would just say like, book me wherever you need me. And I wasn't, that's a whole nother topic. Yeah. Jack of all trades, but just mediocre jack of all trades. Because when you're not focusing on anything, you don't get good at anything. But
you got to kind of try everything to figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy. And then where those crossroads are, that's where to put all your energy into that. Once you kind of figure that out, like, oh, I'm really good at this.
Yes.
Have you ever read any Cal Newport before?
Give me an example.
Digital minimalism, but the one that is, what is the name of the book that I'm talking about? Why Following Your Passion is a Shitty Idea. Basically is the name of it.
No.
That's I can't remember the exact name. I'll get it to you.
I'll have to look at that. Yeah.
Cal Newport, Why Following Your Passion is a Shitty Idea. And he's basically said like, don't follow your passion because you can be passionate about snowboarding. I'm passionate about pickleball right now.
Yes.
I should not go try to play pickleball as a profession.
Totally.
Right? But he's like, what you will become passionate about, like find something that you're good at and that people are willing to pay you for.
Right.
And you will get so good at it that you'll become passionate about it.
That's true. That's exactly true. And you'll get so good about it that you'll start treating it like a career, not a hobby. And then your money will start looking like a career, not a hobby.
Yes.
And that's what I tell people a lot with hair because it's a very confusing, to your point, not everybody should take something that they love and make it their career.
Right.
But if you treat it like your career, it'll pay you like a career.
Yep.
But you can't treat it like a hobby.
As you get better at it and people recognize it and they're like, wow, that was really good.
Yes.
One of the first video I made for a nonprofit, I had people walk up to me and talk to me like, did you make that? I was like, yeah, I did. They're like, that was so good.
Yeah.
You did amazing. And that'll just spur you on, right?
Oh, yeah.
And someone's like, text you like the next day, oh my God, I love my hair so much. Thank you. Like that positive feedback will make you love your job and make you passionate about that thing.
Absolutely.
And it makes you want to get even better. And then as you get better, you charge more and now you got a career.
It's true. And wins make
But just
you want
like as a
more
young
wins.
person, just going, I want to follow my passion.
Yes.
It's like, that's probably not. That's a bad idea. Follow what you're good at.
Yes.
Figure out what you're good at and follow that.
Yeah.
So,
because at the end of the day, a lot of times I talk about this and it's tough with the whole money concept, but at the end of the day, we're all working for the same reason. And I don't care how you spin it. Lots of times I'll say this in a staff meeting, for example, and say, we're all working for money, right? And somebody inevitably will raise their hand and be like, I'm not. I'm working so that I can travel. I'm like, okay, well, good luck doing that without money.
Yeah.
I'm working so I can spend more time with my family and have a good balance. I'm like, yeah, but the only way that you can work part-time is if you're making enough money part-time. So it all comes down to the same thing. Sure. And so, like you said, finding something that is going to, make you money at the end of the day still has to be priority. Yeah. If you don't want to live in a van.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you get out of here, but why don't you tell people where they can find you at?
Okay. So, Instagram, Elevated Entrepreneurship. I'm just growing that now, getting some testimonials out there, getting people excited about it and learning what I have to offer. Obviously, ideally, I love doing longer programs, but I have been spending just days at a time or even hours at a time with business owners just to help where I can. And I've been equally enjoying that. Also Amanda Shields Hair on Instagram. Okay. So that's just so much more of my creative page. And Instagram is the best way to reach out to me and connect and just see kind of what's going on and what I'm doing.
Hit up the DMs.
Hit up the DMs. Slide right in.
Slide in. Okay.
I'm ready for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Amanda.
Thank you for having me. This was so great.
It was great to catch up.
Thanks.